Hi guys, and welcome back to Simple Fresh Spirits. My name is Kaylee, and if you're new here, this is a channel based on minimalism, tips, tricks and ideas to help you get started on a journey or help you progress in the journey that you've already begun. Today's video is going to be 50 items that you can declutter before 2022. So as it's like, oh my goodness, it's like a week into December now, 2022 is fast approaching, and I don't know about you guys, but I am so excited for a fresh start. And what I've been trying to do is to just declutter everything, have a proper fresh start, have everything that's not bringing me happiness or not serving me a purpose anymore just gone, and be ready to tackle the new year with a new mindset. So we're going to start off with our products in the bathroom that we can declutter straight away. The first one is old or unused products. So shampoos, conditioners, body washes, anything that you just don't use or is old and out of date. They can either be donated to a friend, a family member, or there are donation banks in places like Superdrug and Boots that you can donate unopened items to, and they'll be given to people who need them most. Number 2 is expired makeup. Now let's be honest, it might be an item that you were saving for a special occasion, or an item that you absolutely love but you can't use it anymore because it's expired, and you don't want to put expired products on your face or anywhere on your body in that matter. If it's expired, it can go. Number 3 is similar to number 2, and this is makeup in the wrong shade. Whether that's a foundation that you bought in the summer when you had a really nice tan, but now your tan has faded and it doesn't suit your skin tone anymore. That's something that can go, because you don't know that you're gonna have the same tan next year. So if it's not serving you a purpose right now, it can go. Number 4 is worn out or old makeup brushes. Just like we'd change a toothbrush, you should change your makeup brushes regularly. Well, not too regularly, but when they start to fray at the ends, or the hairs on the ends start falling out of them, then they're not really going to be serving you much of a good purpose anymore. They're not going to apply the makeup in the way that you want them to, and you're better off just replacing them with a higher quality makeup brush. Number 5 is makeup that you no longer wear or use. If you don't use it, you don't need it. Number 6 is skincare products that don't work for your skin. If you maybe bought a product and you thought it was going to work for your skin type, but actually it just ended up making you break out, then there's no point holding on to that item. You're better off donating it to a friend or a family member who is going to get a good use out of that item. Number 7 is broken bobby pins and hair ties. Now, I have fallen culprit to this one multiple times, when a bobby pin just gets a little bit too used and it just doesn't quite grip your hair the way it should do, or hair ties that get the elastic just kind of gets a bit too stretchy and you're having to wrap it around 8 or 9 times before it actually does something, and then it still ends up falling out in the end anyway. Those items are not serving you the purpose that they're supposed to serve you, and you're better off replacing them. Number 8 is duplicate hair tools. So if you have more than one pair of hair straighteners or more than one hair curler, you only really need one. You can only use one at a time, so there's not really any point in having more than one of these items. Number 9 is expired medications. This also goes hand in hand with expired sunscreen. You don't want to be putting expired medications into your body because you don't know what that's going to do to you. So if you have expired paracetamol, ibuprofen, any kind of expired maybe heat gel that's supposed to relieve pain, they're not going to do what they're supposed to do once they are past that expiry date. And same with sunscreen. it's not going to protect your skin once it's past the expiry date. Number 10 is gloopy or dried up nail polish. Now, I know I have had to declutter so many of my nail polishes because I loved the shade and I would wear them countless times, but they've just got to that gloopy kind of, you can't use it, you can't apply it nicely onto your nails without it being lumpy or just a bit gross. So you can go ahead and declutter gloopy or dried up nail polishes. Number 11 is duplicate hairbrushes or combs. You only need one, you can only use one at a time. You do not need 3 or 4 hairbrushes. And I know that I think I had 4, and then I just decided I only ever reach for one hairbrush or one comb. I don't need so many of all of them. So keep one and declutter them. Number 12 is old perfumes. So after a certain point, perfumes start to lose their smells and their scents, and they start to go like a funky smell, and at that point you don't really want to be spraying that on yourself because it's just not going to do what it's supposed to do. So you're better off just going and either repurchasing the perfume that you already had that's going to do what it's supposed to do, or just declutter it altogether. Number 13 is threadbare towels and washcloths. Now, towels only really serve us one purpose, and that is to dry us. So if they are threadbare, worn out, run down, they're not going to do that. So you really need to go and replace them or declutter the ones if you have too many. Number 14 links into what I just said, and that is excess towels or washcloths. You can only use one at a time. So what I like to do is keep one for each person that lives here. So that is myself and my girlfriend's here half the time. So we have 2 hand towels and 2 body towels, and then one for each person that we can accommodate as a guest. So we can accommodate 3 other people, so we have 3 spare towels. Now, moving on to the kitchen. So these are items all within your kitchen that you can just go ahead and declutter right away. So number 15 is unused juicers or blenders. Now, if you use your juicer or your blender every day or regularly, that's absolutely fine. Keep it, go ahead. But if it's just sitting there and you're going, maybe one day I'll make a smoothie, maybe one day I'll make a juice, then you can probably go ahead and declutter that item because you're not using it. It's not doing what it's designed to do. So you could either try and sell it or donate it to a friend or a family member. Number 16 is weird single-use kitchen gadgets. So whether you have a tool to chop up an avocado or something to take the core out of an apple, or something to take the heads off strawberries, these are items that could all just be done with a simple knife. So you're probably better off just decluttering those items and investing in a good quality knife. Number 17 is unused or excess mugs. Now, I am a sucker for mugs. I love a mug. I'm obsessed with drinking tea, so having mugs is very important to me. So I would suggest just keeping the best and decluttering the rest. Number 18 is mismatched Tupperware. So if you have little plastic containers that don't have a lid, or lids that don't have containers to them, they can be decluttered, because what are you going to do with a random Tupperware lid that doesn't have a pot? And if you're trying to keep food good after you've cooked it so that you can eat it the next day or maybe freeze it, then a container without a lid isn't going to serve you a purpose either. Number 19 is takeout food paraphernalia. So if you have little sauce sachets or plastic cutlery or napkins or salt sachets, these are all items that you have in your home anyway. You have bottles of condiments or cutlery in the drawer, and when it comes to napkins, you have face cloths or wipes or just water in your hands. You don't need to be keeping all of these items from takeout. They're just causing clutter in your home. They can go. Number 20 is similar to number 19, and that is takeout food menus. Now, I used to have a drawer full of menus because I love a takeout, but you can get all of this information online now. The internet is so useful for decluttering paper clutter. You do not need to have a menu for every single takeout in your town or your village or wherever it is that you live, because it can all be found online. Number 21 is stained or worn out tea towels. So the same as with towels that we use to dry ourselves after a shower or a bath, a tea towel is to dry our plates, bowls, cutlery, cups, mugs, all of that jazz. So if they're worn out, they're not going to dry it, and therefore they can be decluttered. Number 22 is placemats. Now, if you use your placemats regularly, then that's absolutely fine, keep them. But you need to think to yourself, do I actually use it? If you don't, then maybe you could cut down on the amount of placemats that you have, or maybe you could declutter them altogether. Number 23 is unused spices. Now, if you have a massive rack of spices and you only reach for a select few of them, then maybe you could think about decluttering the ones that you don't use, and then also don't forget to declutter the expired ones. Number 24 is backing off of number 23, and that is expired foods in your kitchen. You're not going to eat anything that's expired, so it doesn't need to stay in your kitchen. Number 25 is foods that you don't like. Now, chances are if you don't like it, you're not going to eat it, so it's just causing clutter in your kitchen. So you could donate it to a family member or a friend, or just throw it away. Number 26 is old sweets. Now, sweets have a longer shelf life than other items like crisps or chocolates, but they do eventually go out of date and they'll go sticky or hard, or they just won't be nice to eat. So you can go ahead and declutter all of the old sweets. Number 27 is leaky or mismatched travel mugs. So if you have a travel mug that leaks, it's not going to serve you a purpose. So you can go ahead and declutter that item and maybe go and invest in a high quality travel mug. And it's the same with bottles. If you have bottles that leak, they're not going to serve you a purpose. And it's the same as if you have a bottle without a lid or a lid without a bottle. They're not really going to help you. So you can go ahead and declutter those too. Now, moving on to the living room, number 28 is magazines. Now you've got to think to yourself, do you actually read them? If you have a massive collection of National Geographic magazines or any other magazine, if you don't read them and they're just sitting there, they can be decluttered. You can find these magazines online, whether that's on a Kindle or an iPad or anything, you can find them online. Number 29 is old remotes. Now, sometimes we have a habit of holding on to remotes long after we've even owned the electronic item that they belong to. Now, if you have broken ones or remotes that you don't have the item that they belong to anymore, they can be decluttered. Number 30 is excess coasters. Now, you only really need one per every person that lives in your household, and then one for every guest that you can accommodate for. So you don't need 10 mugs if you can only accommodate for 4 people. Number 31 is unused video games. So if you have a collection of so many video games, but either you don't play them, you won't play them, or you've already played them and don't plan on replaying them, they can be decluttered. Number 32 is DVDs. Now, I have a small collection of DVDs of only my favourite DVDs that I was gifted when I was younger, and I just don't have the heart to get rid of them, but I do regularly watch them, so they are serving me a purpose and I don't feel the need to get rid of them. But if you have a vast collection of DVDs that you don't watch and you're subscribed to many different subscription services that you can watch DVDs on, then you don't really need to have that many DVDs. Number 33 is CDs. Now, same with the DVDs, you can subscribe to so many different services that you can listen to music on. So you don't really need to be holding on to CDs anymore, and if you are, maybe you could possibly try and decrease the amount of CDs that you have. Number 34 is decor pieces with no meaning. Now, I am a massive fan of decor and decorating your space so it feels more like home. I don't like having plain walls or bare surfaces completely, but trying to keep it minimal and only having items that mean something to you, that's gonna help make your space feel more like home. Number 35 is unused board games. Now, quite often we end up with this random cupboard in our house that has a mass of board games in it. Now, realistically, we can only use one at a time, and quite often a few of them get shoved to the back and we forget that we have them. If you don't play board games very often, or you only play a select few, maybe try decluttering the ones that you don't use. You can donate them in charity shops or maybe pass them on to a family or a friend member. 36, similarly to 35, is board games or puzzles with missing pieces. Now, if there's like one piece missing and you still can play the game with that piece missing, that's fine, and you still play it, that's fine, keep it. But if there's so many pieces missing that it's physically impossible to play the game or do the puzzle without the satisfaction of completing the puzzle, then maybe you could go ahead and declutter those items. Number 38 is dead plants. Now, I love having plants in my house. I've recently gone out and bought a new plant that is living in my living room, but if your plants have died and they're not salvageable with a little bit of TLC, then you can go ahead and declutter those plants. If you can water them and bring them back to life and nurture them, of course, don't go ahead and declutter them. But if they are past their prime per se, then you can go ahead and declutter them. Number 39 is coffee tables or side tables that serve no purpose. So if you have coffee tables or side tables in your house, not even just in the living room, just anywhere in your house, and they're not serving a purpose, you're not putting drinks on them, they're just there because you don't want to get rid of them, you can probably go ahead and declutter those because they're just creating visual clutter. Number 40 is burnt out candles. Now, I quite often burn out a candle and then decide, oh, but it's such a pretty candle, I don't want to get rid of it. And while that is something that you can fall into the trap of doing, I would suggest going ahead and decluttering candles once they are burnt out because they're not serving the purpose that they were made to do. Number 41 is books that you won't read or that you've already read but you don't plan on rereading. Now, these are just creating clutter in your home and you can go ahead and declutter them. Okay, and for the final few items, we're moving on to the bedroom. So number 42 is unused or bulky dressers. So if you have dressers that are storing items that you don't need to have in your bedroom, then maybe you could think about decluttering the item, decluttering the dressers. And maybe once you've gone through and decluttered the clothes that are inside the dressers, you can think about downsizing the dresser size and getting one that's not so bulky. Number 43 is prescription glasses. Now, obviously, if you are wearing glasses that have prescriptions, then obviously keep the ones that you wear. But if you have old ones that aren't just sitting in the drawer somewhere, then maybe you could go ahead and declutter those, because you only really need one and maybe a backup pair. Number 44 is that accent chair that just collects items of clothing or random clutter. Now what I would call this is a clutter catcher, and it basically just catches clutter. So if it's just sitting there and you don't sit in it and it's just catching clothes, or you just shove things on there when you don't want them on the floor, then you probably should go ahead and declutter the chair, because it will help to minimize the amount of visual clutter that you have in your room. Number 45 is clothes that you haven't worn in the past year. Now, if you didn't wear it in the past year, then you're probably never going to. So I would suggest either putting it in a maybe box, quarantining that item, taking it away so you can't see it, and maybe if you don't reach for it within a couple of weeks, then you can go ahead and declutter it, or you could just go ahead and declutter it straight away. Number 46 is broken or old belts. Now, a belt is supposed to help to hold your trousers up in the right place, so if they're broken or they're old and kind of flaking away, then they're not going to serve the purpose that you need them to serve, so you're better off decluttering that and replacing. Number 47 is clothes that no longer fit you. Whether that is an item of clothing that you're saying, oh yeah, I'll fit into that one day, or it's an item of clothing that you've had since you were a child and it just doesn't fit anymore. Obviously, if it has sentimental meaning, then keep it aside, put it in a sentimental box or something like that. But if it's just causing clutter and you don't really feel like you need to keep it for sentimental purposes, then you should go ahead and declutter them. Number 48 is aspirational clothing. Now, this could be items of clothing that you've bought thinking, yep, okay, I really want to be able to wear this. I want to be able to pull this off. I want to be able to have more of that kind of style, but actually it's not your style, you're not wearing it, and it's just sitting there because you want it to be your style. Either go ahead and make it your style, or if it's really not going to work, then go ahead and declutter those items. Number 49 is uncomfy or worn out shoes. Now, if a pair of shoes is uncomfy, then you're not really going to want to go and reach for it. So I would suggest decluttering uncomfy shoes, and obviously if you have a pair of shoes that you've worn to death and now there's holes in them or they're falling apart, then you can go ahead and declutter those too. You've got your use out of them. And finally, number 50 is tarnished or cheap jewellery. Now, if you have cheap jewellery that kind of makes your fingers go green or your neck go green, or it's just cheap and in the end it's going to make you go green, then I would suggest decluttering them and investing in higher quality jewellery. So that is it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you're new here, please don't forget to subscribe, like the video and comment if you want to see anything in particular, and I will see you all again in the next video. Bye!